Hey y'all! It's Monday morning, March 21st, and we welcome you to this week's edition of This Week at AMG. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a blessing and very exciting for us to be able to bring to you something that is taking place as we serve the Lord through AMG and as you partner with us. Today we are going to go to the country of Uganda. We very recently had a team travel there, and they served there for a number of weeks. They had the opportunity to engage with our national workers, to serve at our child and youth development centers in Uganda. And one of the team members, Roger Thomas, is going to share with us about his experience during that trip. Roger has been a child sponsor for a long time, and during that trip he had the opportunity to meet a sponsored child, one of his sponsored children there. And it's a very special and exciting opportunity and a privilege to go and see the life of someone you have been investing in and to see how God has been working in their lives. And let's hear from Roger as he shares with us from his experience.
Thank you, Tassos. Last month I had the opportunity to travel with an AMG team to Uganda. It's this little country right here in the middle of Africa. Uganda has gone through two horrific times in the past number of years. First, there was the brutal dictator Idi Amin that murdered somewhere between 100,000 and 500,000 of his own people. And once they got rid of him in the 70s, in the 80s came along the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and it started right there in the middle of Africa. And it devastated Uganda. Anybody basically of sexually active age died, which left grandparents and children. So those kids that were kids then are now in their late 20s and early 30s, and that's the bulk of the population of Uganda. There's more children aged 0 to 5 by far in Uganda than there is all the people over 40 in the country. So there's a generation coming up that really has an opportunity. I was in Uganda 4 years ago with a similar AMG team. They were there to give a youth camp. And although I went with the team, I was not part of the team. I had other responsibilities. And so one morning, everybody that I needed to see was busy. So I sat in on one of the sessions of the youth camp. And I was kind of looking for one of our team members to sit with, but they were all embedded with a lot of the kids because they got to know them really well. I hadn't had that opportunity because I was busy doing other things. But there was an empty seat on the end of one of the rows, and so I sat down there. And at the end of this teaching session, the speaker said, well, now in the next 10 minutes, the person next to you is your prayer partner. You take 10 minutes to share with what you'd like to pray about with one another, and then take 10 minutes to pray. So I turned to this young man sitting next to me since I was on the end. I'd never met him before, never seen him before. And he told me his name was Tendo Elijah. And he shared with me that his mother was sick. Now in Uganda, that's a code word. When somebody is sick, that means they have HIV/AIDS or a similar disease. He didn't say that, and I just assumed that. I found out on this trip I was wrong. That wasn't his mother's problem, but he wanted prayer for his mother. And his other prayer request was he had graduated out of the AMG program. He had been a sponsored child with the AMG program, he and his brother. And he'd graduated from high school, so he was done. The sponsorship had ended, but he really would like to go on to get more education. And so I checked on this young fella because God sort of nudged me and said, this is your guy, Roger. And so yes, he was a fine young man, fine student, gifted artist, was taking part in the spiritual life of the Bugonji Child Care Center, and was highly recommended by the staff there. So I told Elijah, okay, Elijah, I'll pay for your first year of university. And if you make it through, I'll pay for the second year and the third year, and so forth. And if you graduate, I'll come for your graduation. So it was our joy to go this January for Elijah's graduation. He has a degree in business administration, 4-year degree from the best college in Uganda. And guess what? You know, I'm not a rich man. $1,600 paid for a full year of Elijah's university. So Elijah is the youngest of 7 boys, and the rest of the kids, except for his other brother, didn't really have a chance to get much education. And so his mother had no schooling whatsoever. So Elijah is coming along. He's now employed by AMG Uganda as in the office as their accountant in charge of their business. And he's going to make a huge difference in AMG Uganda. But also AMG has made a huge difference in his life, both through the university training that he's now received through a sponsor, me, but also because he grew up and came up through the whole system, came to know Christ because that gospel was shared with him through the Uganda Child Care Center. So it's just another example of how God puts people together. You know, I had no intention of doing this when I went to Uganda 4 years ago. And you know, when I made this promise to go back for his graduation, that was sort of a flippant promise. But once he fulfilled his end, I had to fulfill my end. And so what a blessing it was. Thank you so much for the opportunity, AMG, for me to go and celebrate with Elijah this wonderful opportunity that he's had in his life.
It is really amazing to see what happens in the lives of children as we invest in them. God takes kids that come from underprivileged backgrounds, come out of poverty, suffering, where they may have lost a parent, and as we are able to invest in their lives, they get the tools that they need to be able to one day earn a living for themselves, their families, to be successful in their communities. Most importantly, they are taught about the truths of the Bible, and they have the opportunity to come to a saving knowledge of Christ. And these are the type of individuals that are going to be the future leaders of their countries, and one day are going to serve there. And we are grateful for the people who are making that ministry possible. We are grateful for Roger and everybody else who invest in the life of a child. And believe me, there is a lot of opportunity to invest in the lives of many children. The need is greater than what we can cover, and we always need more sponsors. If you would like to know more about how AMG's Child and Youth Development Ministry works, about Uganda, about how you can invest in the life of a child and have a reward that you see for in this life and also for eternity, please visit our website at www.amginternational.org or give us a call. We'd love to tell you more about it. Well, that's it for this week, and we hope to see you next week at This Week at AMG.